Hello, everyone. This is Christina, the Black Swan Sibyl, greeting you in the love and the light of the one infinite creator. Welcome to our continuing cosmic conversations where we are raising our frequency and aligning ourselves with 5D consciousness. Please do like and share this broadcast. A thumbs up is the best compliment. Also, be sure to follow our channels so you don't miss any of these good conversations that we're having. Thank you. So today I'm very happy to be speaking with Dr. Sharnael Warwicton Sihan. Welcome, Dr. Sihan.
Thank you. Hi.
Dr. Sihan is the author of this book, The Science of Miracles, Remembering the Frequency of Love. She is a naturopathic doctor, speaker, author, social media influencer, and teacher on divine health and the human body. She is passionate about reconciling all people to an integrative life, mind, body, and soul. By teaching in over 41 countries, having thousands of clients worldwide, and with her influence on social media, she does just that. She's authored 5 books and has produced hundreds of teachings and videos on a myriad of topics, including consciousness, essential oils, epigenetics, divine science, quantum health, crystals, neuroscience, nutrition, keto life, frequency, the biofield, conscious language, cleansing and detoxing, and social media influence, and much more. Welcome, Dr. Sihan. Thanks for joining me.
What's up? Thanks for having me. So stoked to be here. We've been talking for a while, so it's finally happening. Yay.
Yes, I'm so glad we finally aligned. And I was just telling you, and I'd like to tell everyone that this book is really great. I feel like if you're doing your own healing process and you're in an organic mode, you have the codes within you, and reading something like this book opens up. It's a different slant and on the same frequency of love resonance. And if you just align with that, it just kind of awakens your own, it enhances your own organic process. So I hope that I said that right, but yeah, it's really good.
I love your communication, the way you express. I think that is so it's just amazing, because we've had so many testimonies of people who this literally was like a seed that activated. Sometimes the seed took a little bit longer with practice, but literally some people will be reading it and already having miracles, their own miracles. And so whenever someone comes and gets the book, like if I'm at a book signing or whatever, I always sign it and always tell everyone who reads it, please report your miracles to me. I got that from Robert Stevens, and it's something that stuck with me, of just asking, because I like to know the outcome. I like to know how I was a part of the journey, or what may have sparked something or manifested something or brought a miracle. And just, we're people too, and it helps us to keep going and to ignite even more, and to keep, that push of just being excited with you and joining forces. I feel like I'm joining forces, like in a prayer way, with this book, of just seeing some things happen, to see our entire world move and shift.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so much that can be said about that. And I would love to like do a bunch of interviews with you. I feel like we could talk a lot just in speaking with you in a little bit that we have already, but I do have some questions prepared.
Yay.
Or things that I think are interesting. Like I came out of religion into spirituality, although I was spiritual my whole life. I just believed that religion was where it was at because I was told that was where it was at. And so I went through that whole process. So my question for you is, you were a minister before. So I was wondering what kind of minister you were, and then how you expanded from the limited beliefs of the Bible to the understanding in the message of the consciousness in the scriptures.
That's a great question. And that's something that I've actually been talking to a couple of people about simultaneously. So that seems to be on the resonance of everyone. I still consider myself a minister. So, because by definition, ministry is just service to others. And you're a minister. We're all in ministry in some form or fashion. I'm like you. It sounds like we have similar stories. I didn't come up in church. I was very, very spiritual. I had encounters very young that connected me to not only the truth, but just the curiosity of truth, and really trying to orchestrate or finagle like different things that I was seeing versus different things that I felt and or knew, and trying to, just get that together. I started going to an organized building type religious church in my 13, 14 age bracket, moving down to the south where everyone's pretty much in church. That's changed a little bit too over time and seasons, but got kind of wrapped up in that, integrated into it, read the Bible. I love the Bible. I just read it ferociously, cover to cover, every single line. I love words. I love expression. Um, ended up going to Bible school and seminary, and was teaching in not only churches but in church conferences, all over, and always kind of have this hunger for truth, the supernatural, which is really natural, and also science, neuroscience, quantum physics, the supernatural, the unseen. And I think that's what kind of also got me out of religion a little bit too, because I kept having these dreams and different things. And my spiritual guide or mentor at the time was a man named Bob Jones, and he always told me that I was a terrorist to the law, which I think is an interesting term that he used for me, because he said you're so not religious. You just shake up religion completely and go direct. And he said that was a compliment, and I really do too. I mean, I had one dream that I was just actually thinking of yesterday when I first met Bob, of how I was going down this highway, but I wasn't driving. No one was in the car seat. I was in the passenger seat, and this police officer came and pulled us over and was trying to give me a ticket for speeding, but I wasn't driving. So I kept remembering in the dream saying, like, but officer, I wasn't even driving, like nobody's in there. And when I woke up from the dream, I never did get the ticket, by the way, but when I woke up from the dream, Bob actually called me in real life, and he said, you saw it, didn't you? I said, what? He said, well, the cop is religion. And he said, police, the law. And I do believe in spiritual laws, because God makes spiritual laws, but the religion laws of man aren't, that's like pharisaical, or just, it doesn't line up with truth. And so you can have all these different practices or man-made ideas of what you think you need to do, or where you need to go, or who you need to be with, or what you need to eat, or whatever, but it doesn't take away from what God says. God is the ultimate authority, and love is the ultimate authority. And so he would tease me, because we would go to conferences and I felt like I was doing my best to represent God. And if there was anything religious or a religious spirit there, it would get really irritated, and it would manifest through these people who would just like not like that I had a tattoo or a nose ring or whatever, especially 20, 30 years ago. So I was just like, or even being a woman in ministry at the time was a big deal, because people were like, matter of fact, I had majored in religious education, or tried to, and they told me, well, you don't have the body parts to do it, in different terms, but that was kind of like, why don't you just minor in that and major in something else and just marry a pastor or something? And I was just like, wow, this is like, I don't think that's, it didn't fit, some of my ideas. It's like, why can't we all be in service, no matter what gender or body parts or what have you? So yeah, that's kind of a long way to answer the question. There's a picture of Bob like right over here, so I feel like he's sort of like watching me all the time, but he's passed now. He actually passed on Valentine's Day a few years ago. But talk about love, right? So yes. Same with Emoto, the guy Emoto, he did all the science testing with love and water. They passed on the same day. But
oh wow, the same day, same year too?
Yeah, I think it was the same year, or it might be a year apart, but I thought that was interesting too, how they both just embodied love. And so I'd love to hear your journey. Like, so you've kind of moved out. I'd love to hear that too.
Yeah, well, I mean, I actually felt spirit when I grew up in a very negative environment, so there was not a lot of love frequency around me at all. And so when I was 8, I felt the spirit of love just in my I was praying. It's kind of a long story, even that little story. But when I told my family what I felt, they said that was the Holy Spirit, and I should go to church. So I literally was 8 years old. So you know how kids think, and I was just driven to find it. And I went to church with friends and whatever. Whenever I could get a chance to go to church, I would go looking for that feeling again, which is just love. There just wasn't any love in my life. And it was very painful. So there was even a joy bus that would go drive around the neighborhood, pick up kids, take them to church for a few hours, snacks and singing songs, and then drop them off back home. And I would take that joy bus like every week, just trying to,
Find joy.
get love.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
right.
love.
Find joy. So I ended up joining a cult, which was the Jehovah's Witnesses. Sorry, I don't mean to be, but that's what it is. It's a cult, and it's very restrictive. But the way they got me was promising that the new earth would be paradise, no more hate or judgment. Everybody would be love, and all the animals would be at peace, and it would be a paradise. And that's what I knew to be true. And but the funny thing is I had just started reading the Bible myself when they came, and so I had a lot of questions, a lot of resistance to it, because at that point I believed that religion was not God. But
Mhm.
still, I was convinced because I had so little foundation for myself. I mean, my I was totally neglected and totally latchkey kid to the extreme, where I just had no guidance whatsoever. So the structure of it kind of pulled me in, and I devoted myself to it. I became as high as you can go, which is like a pioneer, which is 70 hours of ministry a month. And then I read the Bible like 4 times, backwards and forwards, and chronologically. And I actually studied my way out, because I realized, that there's some parts of it that aren't love,
Wow.
and it's a channeled book. And like a lot of the older things in the Old Testament are, like I got to this point where there was a dissonance about how God took care of or had his own people to slaughter other people, sometimes including all the animals and the trees. And I just was like, I could do better than that. If I were God, I can think of better ways of handling it than that, like it just, that's how I felt at the time. I mean, I have less judgment and feelings about it now. I was very, very angry just because it was so oppressive. And I was in a really negative, abusive marriage. So that's another thing, that you're not allowed to get divorced. Once you're hitched forever, even if no matter what, but I was suffering. And so it got to the point where I cleared, it started with my health. Actually, I became very overweight, and I was just dying because I was doing everything but facing the real issues, which were, my childhood traumas and what was really going on in my marriage and with my children and whatever. And so over the course of like 9 years, well, in 9 months, I lost like 86 pounds. I stopped eating, garbage, and I started learning about processed stuff. And then I got into essential oils. So, it started like everything starts with you, and then you start to manifest things and you start to realize. And so at this point, I considered myself mentally ill. Like I had chronic depression, like clinical depression. It was super painful. And I was on these medications. And by the time I got myself physically healthy, I reached a point where I was like, I know that if I can do this and I can get rid of my headaches and my physical symptoms, my arthritis and whatever, I can do that with food. I know I can get off these medications with food. And so I started getting off of the medications. And then once I was off the last one, actually kind of a rewind, I hurt myself. So then I added pain medications to that. And then I was off the last medicine, then it was the pain medication. And as soon as I became clear,
Mhm.
I started hearing my guides, and I started realizing, I can channel too. The Bible is a channeled message. I can channel, but there's positive and negative information coming in, that took a long time to develop discernment.
Mhm.
But I just realized, I I can't stay here. And I left everything, it got to a really crazy, chaotic emergency point because I had so much trauma and PTSD. But anyway, that was 5 years ago. I mean,
Look at
I'm,
you now.
yeah, right. Like, but I mean, seriously, I want to talk to you about the biofield because you talk about that a lot in your book, and that is what is creating everything, right? We are constantly creating our reality. And I have people ask me, how do I know these things, but my physical reality is not reflecting it back to me. It's like, it's your biofield. We have to deal with our traumas. So maybe you can help us to talk about our connection with the planet, other people, and our experiences on this planet, and how we are creating, are manifesting our experiences.
Yeah, that's great. And you're doing that. That's what you're doing. You are going inward. You've already, look at you, in 5 years, you've already made some big leaps and jumps. And that is a manifestation. I think a lot of people incarnate with whatever package that they have within their cells, and the cells actually project into the field. So we have our programming that comes from just our environment of like who we're hanging out with and like what we're eating and what we're putting into our body, whether it's mentally or visually or audio, or just who we're hanging out with and their ideas. So there's so much programming on so many different levels. And that has a lot that can influence the thought process and also the feelings. And so if we can pay attention to what we're thinking and what we're feeling, then there's an automatic to what we're talking about too, because usually people will talk about what we're thinking and what you're feeling. That's just how it is, unless you just don't talk very much.
Out of the abundance of the heart.
Yes, the mouth flows. So it's as you've read in the book, the field is 6 to 8 feet, and what is contained in the field, or the language of the field, is code that comes from our cells. It comes from what we feel and what we talk about and what we're thinking. And so if we can bring alignment to this, then we are going to have, well, either way, we're going to have outcome of something, because the biofield is called bio two. Bio means two. It's called bio because it has a dual purpose. Not only does it radiate out and push out and project, but it also magnetizes back in. So the heart is the most magnetic. So really paying attention and being aware of what you're feeling is super important, because whatever we feel is going to go out there. And if that trumps what you're talking about and what you're thinking about, and even what the cells can project, then that's the one that you're going to get the most pull on, because it's pulling things to you. You're creating, but you're also bringing things to you that you're creating. So when I first started really paying attention to what I was thinking, then I was like, oh yeah, wow, I'm thinking about a lot of dumb things that don't make sense, that aren't positive, that are just kind of on autopilot, more like worry. Instead of prayer warrior, I was probably more like a prayer warrior, because prayer is just thought anyway. Going back to religion, when we would pray, it was always this like, okay, now let us pray, and everyone would hold hands, and then it was just like this big thing, like we have to bow our head and shut our eyes. It's like we're praying all the time. Prayer is just communication. So whether you're holding your hand and doing the ritual of all the stuff, or just walking around the house, you're constantly communicating and sending that prayer out. And it's like a lighthouse that's just like blinking out, the stuff in the field. And so usually what you're thinking about will be attached to your feelings, and vice versa. You may feel sad, so you think something sad. You feel happy, you think something happy. You think something happy, and you change, feeling happy. So we can shift a lot just by being aware of and being on purpose with our thoughts and our feelings. And I think too that when we do feel things at times, we've been told, at least I've been told, coming up in my background with military, and just being tough and the oldest child and moving all the time, that it was kind of like, if you felt something and you were sad, it was like, well, don't feel sad, keep it in, don't cry, I'll give you something to cry about, all those things that's just like suppress, oppress, depress. not like trying to be mean or, just there wasn't ever any bad thing about it, but it was just like, I think as one of the programs that I've caught on the planet, I don't want to say caught, that I noticed on the planet is like not to feel. Don't
Yeah.
feel, numb your feelings, don't express your feelings, don't talk about it. A lot of people will drink or do drugs or do all the things so they're not feeling, to numb out, so that the feeling isn't expressed. And it's like, it doesn't make it go away just because
Right.
you numb yourself out. That expression is still there and it's still going into the field. So you're just, to medicate it or to numb it out isn't going to make it different. We can transmute it, we can move it out so there's more space for God, which is love and who is love. But it is very important, that alignment, not only with the cells, what you're thinking, what you're talking about, what you're thinking, because again, radiation goes out, but also magnetizes. So that's where the biofield kicks in, is like, just the whole law of attraction. I used to think, oh, that's airy fairy, that's for those people over there in the quote new age. But it's like, no, that's a real law. And that's why God, and even in the scriptures, which I'm with you on the scripture thing, like there are scriptures and then there's different interpretations, there's different actual content, words that are completely changed from the real text, on purpose, maybe not, whatever. But and then there's certain religions that can maybe have a different interpretation of it and teach that, and it's just their interpretation, doesn't make it right or wrong. It's just what they believe the interpretation is. And so you can pick a religion and you're like, this guy thinks this means that and this means that. So anyway, but I go into the actual scripture. I look at things in the original content. I look at the Strong's, the Greek, the Hebrew, whatever, even if there's before that. I like words. I like, because there's frequency to words, right? So but when I was looking at one scripture specifically, it said, there was one that said, guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of life. And I was like thinking about it. I'm like, okay. And then I just had this inspiration, go look to see what that really means. Because I had a feeling it probably wasn't the way I was taught, and or what my religion at the time had interpreted, or just my own understanding of it. And because if I think guard, I'm thinking guard your heart, like make sure no one gets you, like be protective, survival, like something can get you at any moment, please, like be careful, walk around like always looking over your shoulder, guard, guard yourself. Versus when I looked in the actual text, it says to be aware of. And I'm like, wow, to be aware of your heart, be aware of your heart, for it is the wellspring of life, versus guard your heart, for it's the wellspring of life. Be aware of, to me, when I think of be aware, I literally sit up and I feel my posture change. I feel alert, to be aware versus to protect.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love for anyone who's watching this to just say it out loud and practice, like, be aware, protect. Like, see if you have any body changes with those two things. They're completely different energies, completely different frequencies, completely different definitions, which change the code to your field. So when you are aware, if and he did and she did, God did, said, be aware of your heart because it's the wellspring of life. It's because God knew that we are creators. We are co-creators. We are born and incarnated into the image of God, and we create. We're constantly creating. So if we are aware of what we're thinking, what we're feeling, what we're talking about, being aware of our heart, then we can create differently and hopefully more positively if we're aware, because I think a lot of people are just going along with the motions, living their day, not being aware, just going like, why does this keep happening to me? Cancel clear, or, just letting things happen to us instead of creating and being aware of what we can do as creators and authors of our own lives, and shifting that, creating that, instead of like, I guess, autopilot default creating.
Right.
to actually be aware, or creating with purpose, creating on purpose, being an architect, a positive architect of your personal life and your personal field. And as we create our field with love and personality and peace and all the things that God is, then we're going to get a different response. Because if you fill this whole field with godly things, which are love, peace, presence, abundance,
Mhm.
uh, pick a million things,
Yeah.
then those wonderful things that God is already, that goes into the field and that's magnetic,
Mhm.
then that will magnetize positive people, positive situations, opportunities, miracles, healing, although God, everything that God is. And
Yeah.
so it does take practice. It literally does take, not, we say practice makes perfect, but literally consciously choosing what you're thinking, consciously choosing what you're doing, consciously choosing what you're eating, what you're drinking, who you're hanging out with, making conscious choices about what words you're going to speak.
Yeah.
And conscious language is a biggie for me because uh, we can say, I have a headache, cancel clear.
Yeah.
But if you say, I have a headache or my headache, cancel clear, then you're owning it and you're amplifying it and you're bringing more life to it, more awareness to it. And it's in the field and then there's opportunities versus I am so excited for ease in my body.
Yeah.
You could say something just that slight, but now you're creating something different where an opportunity to be aware of your heart is the wellspring of light. I am so happy for ease in my entire body all the way through my cells. You're saying the same thing, but you're just saying it a little different to where it would create a different response automatically. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. You're giving really good practical examples about creating the world around us that we want to see because you see what you look for. We're, for example, looking for pine needles to make pine needle tea. And now that we're looking for them, we're seeing evergreens everywhere. You know what I mean? And we're seeing which ones they are. And oh, this is a yew, can't use that. This is cedar. We're looking for it. And so now it's in our consciousness, it's in our biofield, and now we are seeing it. We're being drawn to it. It's the same thing when I'm painting. I see all things differently when I'm in the middle of painting or being creative. I see the contrast in the world, and it's like I don't really see that if I'm not putting that out. But you always get back what you're looking for. You will find what it is that you seek. That's the way that we work. And you mentioned twice cancel clear, which I've been using that. It's very simple. And it becomes a habit, and I've been using it. Maybe you could share a little brief,
Yes. Yeah.
what's cancel clear.
Yeah, so I'm going to piggyback a little bit on what you said, and then we're going to cancel clear.
Yeah.
You as a painter, and you mentioned like seeing, only getting what you are. We only get what we are, right?
Yeah.
So you have in neuroscience what they call reticular activating system, and basically we look for patterns constantly. We're moving things and looking for things to make sense. We're just engineered that way. And so when we see something that's out of a pattern, then your body takes it and goes, okay, I'm going to incorporate this in. And then you'll start to see that everywhere you go, where before it was unseen and now it's seen because it's been made, you've been made aware of it.
Mm.
And so, you could, let's say you buy a car and it's a certain kind of car and a certain color, and you weren't really aware of it before, but then now that you bought that car, you could drive around and be like, oh my god, that car is everywhere, because now you're looking for the pattern or the pine needles or whatever the situation is, where before you could have just familiarly walked around and not seen it. Now all of a sudden it's super seen. And I was just sharing on another interview I did about feeling, I woke up to this I get stuff in the morning a lot, and I woke up to this voice that said the familiar um can be so familiar that it's unseen.
Mhm.
And I was like, what does that even mean? And I realized that I was walking around my house and I was passing by like artwork or something that has been there so long now that I almost like block it out. I don't even see it anymore. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to do something different. I literally took all the artwork down in my entire house in every room, and I put it up in different places. I just moved the stuff from the bedroom and the kitchen to the bedroom, and the stuff from the living room to the hallway, or just anything just to change things up against, because I realized if I'm doing this with just my art, what else am I doing in other categories of my life? In the book, in the back intro, it says you can't pee in the pool and hope it doesn't get everywhere. There's not, it's like the smoking section, as a restaurant or whatever. It's like you can smoke over there, like everyone isn't having to smell the cigarettes. Like,
Yeah.
and it's the same thing energetically. We are seeping out. If you're in a bad relationship over here, there's probably like some overflow and some things that are going on over here. If you lie in this department, then energetically you're going to have some problems going over here too. So when I say lie, it could be lying about a thing or in a partnership of just being in a relationship you're not supposed to be in. That's a lie. Or taking a job that you're not supposed to even have. That's a lie. So all of these things, when you lie in these areas, you're going to get a response in all the areas of all around you. But yeah, so cancel clear I love, because when we say words have frequency, and again, words go out into the field, they have code, and you only get what you are. So if you are speaking something, that goes into the field, and then you're going to get a response. So if going back to the whole my headache, you take ownership of having a headache, and then your body goes okay, and it just keeps it going, because your subconscious doesn't know the difference between literal and just expression, or trying to symbolic. So basically, when I accidentally say something that maybe is in a program, that I caught wherever, I'll go and I catch it because I'm aware. I'll immediately cancel it, and then I clear the energy behind it, so I'm not getting more of what I don't really choose. And I try very hard to only speak my highest choices and voice my choice. And there are times that things seep out, and I'm just like, oop, not that one, cancel clear. I don't, I choose the highest, and so I'll catch myself. And I catch myself. So thank God I even catch myself. But I hope that we can be aware of, what we're creating, because we create.
Yeah. And I was thinking, for people just getting started, I mean, I've developed my own habits. And then, like I said, reading your book helped to, solidify or enhance my own process. But I know that I am where I am because I've had to face a lot of traumas. And in your book, you mentioned trauma loops. There's global trauma loops, but we also have individual traumas that, like you said, you're if you're not conscious, or if you're not aware, you're keeping these things going. So maybe you could speak on trauma loops and our own personal trauma loops, because I feel like unless we can't, it's really easy to bypass, but you're going to keep creating the same things that you don't want if you bypass those.
Yep. So trauma loops can be cyclical, meaning with actual time periods and months and dates and years, or they can just be generational. You can bump into something that happened in a loop from your ancestors. We have our version, and then we can, like I said, connect to whatever's been here before us, or whoever's been here before us. So when I'll use the example of 9/11, which that's, I believe, man-made situation, but also then media will do its due diligence to keep everyone in that reminder of like every September 11th. I mean, even you just saying 9/11, people like have a physical response because of that one global trauma. And they actually did they have these generators all over the world that will measure the earth frequency, and right before that happened, the earth frequency, the Schumann resonance, went way, way, way up. So they've timed that with like OJ, with Princess Diana's wedding, her death, different other people who have passed. It's like there's, I'll mention certain political things that have happened, even that have raised the frequency, and meaning the entire planet was engaged with media on one focus, and it actually changed the frequency of the planet. And this is what we all can do with media. But yeah, when we're all collectively working together to do things, there's that collective loop. Because like I was going into, every year on that day, what do? They bombard over and over and show those visuals, and visuals are powerful. To the word imagination means to image a nation. And so if they can get the nations involved in one image, then that keeps the high beta going on in the body, that the fight or flight, the fear, and it just it can keep us trapped into that fight or flight feeling, which most media and news all comes in beta waves to the brain, which is the lower frequencies of just survival, fight or flight, as opposed to love and freedom and expression and creativity and peace and harmony and all those things. So imagine if every single station that we had always posted and reported good news, helping the lady next door who needed her grass mowed because she's 80 and she hurt herself or something, and or saving a puppy, and like every single image that we had was that, and we really did see the good news. I think that would change things on a collective, like huge.
Yeah.
And shows like what you're doing and bringing awareness and bringing education, bringing something positive to help people overall is amazing, because that's something that's a great opportunity for all of us to change individually, but also collectively. So how to get out of how to get out of those loops is to, number one, be aware, oh my gosh, I keep seeing the same pattern over and over again. And whether it's a personal pattern of maybe poverty or sickness, or those situations where you got offered a job, but then like the day before the job happened, then all of a sudden the person said, oh, never mind, we got someone else or something. Like that, so close but then taken away kind of deal. Like there's patterns that other people, you may see, and you can see positive patterns too. You can see, I always get a parking spot at the airport, right in the same spot. I always, get out of an airport on time or early. I always, get, I don't know, flowers on my birthday, or, people are kind to me everywhere I go. If you have the expression, the expectation, the love frequency of certain decrees of God is the only power and presence acting here, and then if anything shows up, the awareness to go, oh, this doesn't fit with that decree. Okay, so what's going on with that? And look behind it, be aware of it, ask the questions, move through it. Then we can actually shift that, move it out, make more room for God in the expansion. So you're getting out of the loop, and you're making a new loop. You can make a positive loop. I like positive miracles. I like positive miracle loops, like love loops. Let's make the love loops.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. So what advice do you give to those who are suffering from anxiety, fear, and low self-worth now?
Great question. I would journal. I would create. Let me rephrase that. I create. I journal. I love. I'm very careful and cautious with who I spend time with. And what I'm listening to, what I'm looking at, what I'm eating, what I'm drinking, who I'm with, where I go. I pay attention to my physical body. Like if there's an opportunity that comes up and it's like, hey, would you like to go do so and so? And I immediately feel like stress about it, then that's probably not something that I'm going to do, because it's like, I have another priority, or no, you don't have to have a reason. I think people get caught up in just this whole like, or I don't want to say people do, but I can say for me that people pleasing is a big thing. It was in the past. It's just like feeling like you got to do this, or that someone's going to be upset with you if you don't, or that you're not doing enough performance or working hard enough or meeting everyone's expectations or which is whatever. And all of that causes stress. You know, I like to pay attention to how I feel when I'm presented with something. And there doesn't need to be any explanation or reason for doing something or not doing something or going somewhere or buying something or not buying something or eating something or not. Just be and be okay with your sovereign reasons, and don't feel like you need to explain or defend or, you know, just be. And you know, in the past, if someone said, "Hey, can you go do this?" I would always feel like, "No, no, because I have to go do this." Oh, that sucks. You know, it's like, you know, now instead of like, I would love to, that would be awesome. And also I have this priority with my family going on, or my body just needs to rest.
Yeah.
You know, how about like, I think that sounds fun and you're awesome. You know, keep me in mind for the next time. And
Mhm.
also, I've just been going like crazy and I really feel like I need to pay attention to my body and just rest for a while. Or because doing nothing actually helps
Yeah.
to just eat, you know, be in nature, be in creativity, go outside, breathe fresh air. We don't have to be doing something all the time. And it's okay to say no, having those boundaries and being like confident
Mhm.
and being okay and just making choices that fit what is good for us. And what's good for you may not be good for me. Like maybe you can go do all the things and then maybe I can't, or maybe I can and you can't, or maybe it's a season where you're like, this is a season of just like reproduction and generating, and then you may have a season where it's like, I just choose rest right now. I'm paying attention to my body, and so again, it goes back to being aware of what's your choice, what's good for you, how do you feel when the choice comes, and paying attention and aware enough to know like this is for me right now or this isn't for me right now. And because your body will release 1,500 chemicals every single time that it is um, not for you. When I call it the lie, doing anything, saying anything, doing anything opposite of what's on your scroll or what you're quote called to do. 1,500 chemicals released from your brain, go throughout your cells, cause you to be weak, cause your immunity to go weak. It can mess up your sleep, your metabolism, your digestive system. You know, so living true is really important. Now, on the opposite, when we live true to whatever it is, who we're hanging out with, what we're doing, what we're eating, where we're going, you know, all of those things, you will actually step into 300 chemicals that empower you to do all kinds of things. And so, you know, focusing on purpose, on positive things, and being aware are the two most important things that I would say as far as changing things up. If you know, you said people facing anxiety or fear or whatever, then number one, express, be in creativity, get in nature, drink lots of water, put in good high vibe things in your body and being around high vibe things, but also going back to being okay with your choices, being okay with just being. You know, being is powerful. Just you are powerful, just your existence. It doesn't have to be any kind of you know, doing.
Right.
Being a human being, there's power in that. And when we do that, you would be so shocked on the revelation that comes. There's so much revelation in rest and just being. And that's where I get my best ideas, is just going out in nature and sitting by water and, you know, putting my feet in the dirt or the sand and just being. And give yourself permission to play, give yourself permission to rest, give yourself permission to just enjoy being.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sihan. Can you please tell us where we can, people want more of you, I'm sure. Where can we
Yes.
get your book? What are your contact
Yeah.
links?
the best way to find me is swiftfire.org. It's Swift, SWIFT, as in fast, swiftfire.org. Make sure it's .org. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. I love doing teachings on there, but I also interview a lot of people on our show. We have Swiftfire True TV, tons of interviews there. But I did conferences for years, and now with all this stuff, I haven't traveled as much. The one thing I do enjoy is actually meeting people, hugging them, feeling the vibration. So if you guys are watching this and this is helpful for you, or something ignited because of this, I love to get little messages and say, hi, I'm me. And then I can see your little picture and like connect with you on a vibrational level and just send you prayers and just know who I'm talking to, because you know, these things are interesting. It's like you're just talking and you see comments or whatever, but there's not that personal connection that I miss. I love that we can be in multiple places, and I have 5 interviews today, and they're going to go out all over the world, and that's amazing. And then also I miss the tiny connections of just like the faces and the eyes and the hands and the hugs. So
Yeah.
definitely don't be afraid to step out and just be like, hi, I'm me.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope that you have a lot of people calling and sharing their miracles with you.
Definitely share your miracles. Get my book. I want to hear what happens. There's going to be a lot. This is just an activation right here, a giant, beautiful activation for all of you and your family. So definitely be prepared, be excited, get ready, fasten your seatbelt. You're about to have a lot of different things happen. Anyone who jumps in, it's pretty fun. I've even reread my own book a few times and seen jumps from like, oh, I didn't see this before, and I'm the one who wrote it. So God is so cool about how God does things, and it's like, you know, we can even, you know, help ourselves in the middle of it. So thanks for having me. Appreciate you
Yeah,
so much.
thank you for joining me.
Awesome. All right, talk soon.
Okay, bye.